hope you're doing really well and welcome to my May wrap-up. So this month I was participating in the Asian readathon, and I have managed to read quite a good mix of books from Asian authors featuring Asian characters, which I was quite happy about. I think I managed to more or less hit all the prompts, which I'm also very excited about obviously, so you know, first readathon I think I've managed to read all the books I'm supposed to. So I actually read I read 9 books this month, which is insane for me. If you've watched any of my videos, you know I usually average about 4. So I went away though for 4 days just down to Edinburgh, where I basically brought an entire bag of books with me to read. So that definitely helped up my numbers. So without any further ado, these are the books I read this month. So starting off the month strong, I read Daughter of the Moon Goddess by Su Lin Tan. I do have a spoiler-free review for this, so definitely feel free to go check that out for more of my thoughts. But this was a retelling of the myth of Chang'e and almost like a continuation almost of that story about the moon goddess from Eastern Asian myth. And this was just honestly such a great fairy tale sort of feeling book. You've got this absolutely fantastic main character that you follow, the plot was really, really great, and just the kind of world building and the sort of descriptions of kind of the sort of magical, ethereal kind of like heavens that you sort of that this takes place in was just really, really great. I was fully expecting to love this one, so you know, it wasn't a surprise that I ended up enjoying it as much as I did. But yeah, overall it's a really, really great book. I did find some of the writing to be a little bit simplistic at times, and I was able to guess one of the plot twists, but you know, it was still written in a really, really interesting way that I still enjoyed how we found that out. And yeah, it was just a really, really great book. I really enjoyed it, and I'm highly anticipating the sequel, Heart of the Sun Warrior. So yeah, just really, really great, absolutely lives up to the hype, would recommend it. Yeah, really enjoyed this one. I then read The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea by Axie Oh, and this is a story kind of like, you know, from Korean mythology, kind of about the sea god, and every year, or every few years, a girl from this village that our main character comes from must be sacrificed as a bride to the sea god, because there is the mythology that if his bride can make him fall in love with her or form that connection with her, then the sort of like suffering of the world and all the storms and stuff that are plaguing this country will end. And our main character kind of takes the place of the bride that is due to go this year, because the bride that was due to go is actually sort of her brother's lover. So obviously she wants to kind of protect her brother and not see him lose the love of his life. So she goes in this woman's stead, and everything kind of goes from there. It was just a really, really great book. I really enjoyed the romance in this and the relationship that you have in this, and the friendships kind of as well. There's so many great characters in this that kind of all find their own connection with our main character, and yeah, it was just I can't even describe what I liked about it. I just really, really enjoyed it. I loved the idea of the kind of like, you know, the afterlife or something, because like, and the ghosts and family, and like I said, just all these really interesting characters that you meet, and kind of just how they become important to our main character and almost become like family to her when she is sort of in the water and stuff. You know, yeah, really, really great. I really loved this one. I then read 6 Crimson Cranes by Elizabeth Lim. This is one that has been hyped up for so long, so I was really, really excited to finally get to this and see what I thought of it, and I really enjoyed it. You follow your main character Shiori, and she is due to be married off to a sort of northern kind of like, you know, lord, and she really doesn't want to. She sort of runs away when she's due to meet this man, and finds herself falling into a lake and actually meets a dragon. And it's through this sort of friendship with this dragon that she meets that she discovers actually that she has magic, and he offers to teach her kind of how to use it. And kind of one day her sort of stepmother, who she's always had a bit of a tight relationship, sort of fraught relationship with, discovers that she's been using her magic and decides that she's going to, and you know, for reasons unknown, she therefore turns Shiori's brothers into cranes, and curses Shiori to have a bowl over her head obscuring her face and be unable to speak, because if she speaks any word, one of her brothers will die. Now, and everything just kind of goes from there, with her sort of almost like trying to find her brothers, trying to release this curse with no one knowing that she's actually the lost princess Shiori, and everything just goes from there. It was just such good fun. I really like Shiori's character. I really like who she becomes in this story. She sort of goes from this kind of like really privileged, sort of spoiled kind of princess to, you know, really kind of learning her place in the world and learning kind of, you know, she's just trying to get her brothers back as well, and as well, there's this really interesting just idea of looking past what people present to you and trying to understand that some people, you know, there's more to them than you actually realise and stuff. And, you know, because she always a very, not prejudiced, but, you know, she very much jumps to conclusions about people, about her stepmother, about her some of her brothers, about her fiance to be kind of stuff, you know. And yeah, she kind of has to learn to really just look past that and actually understand the motivations behind what somebody is doing. Really, really fantastic story. It has this really interesting sort of fairy tale kind of quality to it. I really, really liked it. I'm curious to read the sequel, to be honest, because this ends on such an interesting note. And I think I've heard like mixed reviews about the sequel, so I'm a bit apprehensive. But no, this was really, really great, and I think it definitely lived up to the hype. We've then got If I Had Your Face by Frances Cha. I do have a spoiler-free review for this one if you want to go check that out. But this is a book that my sister got me for my birthday, and it's kind of following these 4 women in Seoul in South Korea who are, you know, kind of almost a representation of the different sort of standards for women and different beauty standards that you do have in Korea. And it's this very interesting snapshot into classism and into the sort of extreme sort of beauty industry that you have in South Korea. You follow and you know, the four women are just really interesting characters, and they all have very interesting arcs within this book. You know, you've got Kyuri, who is a room salon girl, which is basically almost like a high-end prostitute. You've got Miho, who is an artist who is going out with a sort of very rich sort of son of one of Korea's biggest celebrities, and she's not really wanting to rely on him for her art career. You've got Ara, who's a hairstylist who's mute, and she has a sort of unhealthy obsession with a K-pop idol. And you've got Wona, who is pregnant with a child that she and her husband can't really afford to have, but she badly wants. And she's sort of in a kind of like loveless relationship with her husband. And they're just like, it's just a very interesting snapshot into these women's lives and where they're at in the moment of time of this book, how they kind of cross paths, and just kind of just about how their characters develop over the course of this story. Really, really interesting book, and really interesting sort of dissection on, like I said, about things like in Korea, like classism and the beauty standards, and just what some of these women will go to get what they want. And yeah, it was just absolutely fascinating. It was really just really, really interesting, and yeah, would definitely recommend it if you want something different to read. I then read last night at Telegraph Club by Melinda Lowe. I have another spoiler-free review for this. I loved this book so much. It is about a young girl in 1950s San Francisco. She's the daughter of Chinese American immigrants, and she's discovering her sexuality. She meets a girl in her class who takes her to the local gay nightclub, sort of bar, the Telegraph Club, and everything just kind of goes from there. It's this truly sweet story just about these 2 girls finding love in this sort of environment, in this context where it's perhaps not welcoming to people like them. And oh yeah, it's just so brilliant. Like, I really, really loved this book. It's just so full of pride as well, and full of that community that you find with other people in the LGBTQ plus community and stuff. Like, absolutely fantastic. And you know, it's been getting loads of awards and stuff, and no wonder, because it is just so well written as well, and just so well paced, and the characters are just so easy to root for. Lily's such a fantastic main character, you know, because she kind of goes from this very, you know, she has her rebellious streak, and you know, you really feel like you're in there with her, where she's like sneaking out to go to a bar, you know. Oh, it was just really, really great, and I absolutely love this book. Another one that had divisive opinions when it came out, and that is She Who Became the Sun by Shelley Parker Cham. This is a sort of, tells the story of this nameless girl who, her brother and her father, they're kind of living through a really intense famine, and her father takes them to a local fortune teller to have his son's prophecy foretold, and the fortune teller foretells, you know, huge greatness for Ju Chong-ba, her brother. And then when she asks what's in her future, the fortune teller says nothing. And later they're attacked by raiders and stuff who are looking for food, and both her brother and her father die. And the young girl decides to take up the name of Ju Chong-ba, assume her brother's identity, and achieve the greatness that he was foretold to have. And this leads her to a monastery, which her father had promised her brother to should he live, and kind of from there into the sort of like army of the emperor, the army, and kind of like rising through the ranks from there. And everything kind of goes from there. It's really just it's a really great character piece, I think. You know, Ju Chong-ba is a fantastic main character because she's ambitious and she's cunning, and she's also just she's a survivor because of what she's went through as a child, and honestly just really you know, this book wouldn't work if she wasn't such a strong character, but she is. I can see perhaps why people didn't really like it, to be honest, because it definitely feels like a military epic, which you don't really think it's going to be when you hear about it. But I personally really enjoyed it. I really liked the setting, I really liked all the characters that you meet. I like that it brings in additional points of view later on in the story. Sort of you get to see this character Zhu Changba from lots of different people's point of view, and you get a more well-rounded look at the world rather than just this one character. I also forgot I do have a spoiler-free review for this one as well, so definitely feel free to go check out that if you want to hear more of my thoughts. But yeah, I fall into the camp of I did really enjoy it. It's not one I'd reread in a hurry, and if there's going to be a sequel, which I think there possibly is, I'm not going to read it because I liked what this was as a standalone, and I think a sequel kind of ruined that. So yeah, I actually happened to really enjoy this one. I then read for my book club with a few other booktubers. I read For the Wolf by Hannah Witten, and I really did not enjoy this one because it's supposed to be like a Red Riding Hood retelling, which it is, but it sort of very subtly shoves in rather a lot of stuff that you see from Beauty and the Beast retellings, which I am sick to death of, to be honest, at this point. I thought it was an absolute subpar romance. I didn't like how the characters were done. You know, it was very dull, and I feel like I've read it a million times before in just about every other Beauty and the Beast kind of retelling that you have out there. Things like Hunted, things like Court of Thorns and Roses. I feel like I've just read this a million times before with the exact same character arcs and journeys and the way that they have their relationship. It also does my least favourite thing in romance books, where the side characters and the friendships just get completely sidelined for this subpar relationship. You know, because there's these interesting characters that our main character does meet, who she's supposed to be friends with, but you don't actually see her spend any time with them. And yeah, just overall not... It was a really, really great premise about, you know, two sisters of the king, two daughters of the king. The first daughter is going to be the sort of next in line, and the second daughter will be sacrificed to the wolf in the wood to stop sort of, you know, demons coming out from behind the woods that sort of keep them locked away in the sort of shadow realm. So interesting idea, but yeah, it was just, our main character Radaris just isn't very likeable or very easy to root for. And as I said, just the relationship, you know, it felt very insta-lovey as well, and you're kind of sat there going like, wait, when did they fall in love? Like, did I miss that? What? And there's no connection between these two characters. You very much feel like they have a relationship because they're told they have to have one, not because they actually have any connection with one another. So yeah, really, really didn't enjoy this one. Yeah, not a fan. Then got The Balloon Thief, which was kind of what I just picked up because I loved the little cover. And it's about this girl who's sort of in a very male-dominated society. Her mother and brother are dead, it's just her and her father is trying to marry her off. Because obviously he's like worried about her and he wants her to be protected, especially as he grows old and will obviously die and leave her. He doesn't want her to be left on her own. But obviously this is a fate that our main character, Khadija, just doesn't want. She wants to be free. And she spends a lot of her time kind of watching the hot air balloons take off from near to her house, because in this world, you know, hot air balloons are a main mode of transport, and you know, they've got all these gorgeous sort of balloons and stuff that she just loves to draw. And one day when she's sort of about to get, you know, her father's trying to arrange a marriage with this truly horrible person, she runs away and steals a balloon, and everything kind of goes from there. It's set in a very interesting world where you have the ruling Ghanaian ruling class and the, I don't know how to pronounce this, Harry oppressed class, and you've sort of got the kind of Harry sort of resistance, who are actually kind of almost who are actually terrorists, kind of, you know, rising up and trying to sort of, you know, fight for a better life for the Harry and stuff, but going about it completely the wrong way and becoming, you know, quite racist in their own terms as the kind of books goes on. And you follow Khadija, who is Ghanaian, and then you also follow Jacob, who is a young Harry boy that she meets after she steals the balloon. And, you know, they kind of like have a sort of tentative friendship, but obviously it's very much overshadowed by the racial tensions that are going on in this world, you know, Khadija being the ruling Ghanaian class. And almost the two of them trying to unpack their prejudice and animosity towards one another. And, you know, Jacob kind of almost gets involved with the terrorist group and gets almost brainwashed by them, believing that they are actually trying to do good when, you know, actually, you know, quite objectively they're not. And Khadija kind of almost gets caught up in the peace group, in the sort of mix between Gideon and Harry that kind of live together and are working towards a peaceful solution to try and make things better for the Harry. And it was this really interesting world because of that. And like I said, you know, you've got Khadijah and Jacob's friendship at the centre of it, you know, trying to just find how they can be friends in a world like this. Really, really fantastic stuff. And it's not the most amazing thing I've ever read. It's quite linear. There's a side romance in this that kind of feels a bit forced. But, you know, at the core of it, you've got these really interesting characters and this really interesting theme. It does get a bit preachy at times. Like, you can definitely tell that this author's trying to, you know, look into that whole idea of racial tension and racism and inequality and stuff. But it does feel a little bit, this is what the book's about at times. But no, it was really, really interesting. I did definitely enjoy this one. And last but not least, I read They by Kate Dick for one of my other book clubs. Very, very short book set in a sort of dystopian world where you've got this sort of nameless and genderless main character sort of going about, and around them you have They, which is just the sort of nameless organisation that comes into your house and steals your books and takes away all your creative liberties and occasionally takes people away to sort of, you know, almost lobotomise them basically, and then pop them back when they're not going to question their methods anymore. Interesting idea. I hated it. I hated this book so much. Oh my god. I guess I'm just not clever enough for it as well. Like, I can tell it's trying to be all clever and stuff, but on the whole, wasn't the biggest fan, to be honest. It just, you know, you didn't get to know any of these characters. It was incredibly simplistic writing, and I think I've just lost my taste for dystopians as well, probably because it feels like we're living through one half the time. I just didn't enjoy it. You know, I read for escapism, and this just was A, boring, and B, just not the kind of book I tend to enjoy reading. It was an interesting discussion last night at my book club. There was a couple of people that agreed with me, most people disagreed with me, sort of thing. But it was interesting to have a discussion about seeing kind of like different people, what their opinions and stuff were of this book. So that was definitely fun. That's it from me this month. I read quite a lot of books this month. Have you read any of these? Let me know what your thoughts down below in the comments. I would love to hear your opinions. If you've reached the end of this video, feel free to leave a like and feel free to subscribe. I post 2 videos a week. But thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.